I've been a public librarian for around 5 years and have spent a great deal of time developing my immense appreciation for the art of the picture book. My coworkers and I like to share our favorites that we've found and read in quieter moments. I'll frequently return to my desk to find a picture book sitting there alongside a note imploring me to drop everything and read immediately. So I'll settle in and open to the first page, knowing that whatever simple wisdom lies within, I probably need to hear it. The truth is that the right picture book at the right moment will be a balm when you are brokenhearted, an ethical compass when you need to be set straight, and a ray of hope when you feel all has gone dark. Perhaps in this very moment, you might be feeling that when it comes to our nation, things are looking pretty dark. We are reckoning with the effects of racial oppression and xenophobia. We are living through a recession, a global pandemic, and a climate crisis that grows more dire by the day. In lieu of real compromise and bipartisan problem solving, we see only staggering polarization and dehumanizing efforts from all sides. Our democracy is facing a moral crisis. We have allowed our dogmatic certitudes to blind us to the shared values and creeds that bind us as Americans. Our founding ideals of liberty, equality, and justice for all have become twisted to meet the needs of any given argument. Next week, we will see the outcome of a historic and sacred tradition in this country. But I would challenge you to consider whether the work of a citizen ends with the casting of a ballot. No matter the results of this election, I believe we find ourselves in a crisis that cannot be remedied merely by those in elected office. But this crisis can be remedied. In the words of the great children's book author, Shel Silverstein, anything can happen, child. Anything can be. We as individual members of this citizenry have power, and it is within this very power that I see the light. As hard as it can be in a moment like this, it behooves us to seek out the hope that can be found in simple truths, the lessons of morality or character that we learned when we were small children. When I read picture books, I'm reminded of 3 behaviors that always lead the protagonist to the light. One must be kind, one must be brave, and one must be true. I believe these behaviors, espoused in our favorite stories, will guide us as we seek to rescue our civic culture and with it, the very fabric of our democracy. Be kind. Open doors for others, practice courtesy. Meet your neighbors and lend a hand when you're given the chance. Take stock of what you have, be it time, money, the gifts of writing or song, and decide if you have enough to share. Find the parts of your community that might be hurting and show up for those in need. There's another face of kindness too, that which bridges into love. In preparation for this event, I had the opportunity to read the late Congressman John Lewis's book, Across That Bridge, of which we heard an excerpt read just a few moments ago. In it, Lewis describes some of his experiences during the civil rights movement, some of the moments in which he looked into the faces of his attackers and still chose nonviolence. He writes, "I know today that there is a power, a force that cannot be corrupted or defiled, and that power is love." I know we can't all be John Lewis, but when those moments arise when it would be easier to choose hate, I urge you to take courage from his example and remember that even the kindnesses you perform unrewarded leave a little less room for darkness in this world. Book recommendation: The Someone New by Jill Twiss and E.G. Keller. Be brave. We live in a country so deeply polarized that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to just be quiet for a moment, to trust that our beliefs, our hearts, are in no way compromised by the act of listening to those with whom we do not agree. When we are present with tension and actively listening, we are participating in the sacred privilege of debate that this nation was built on, and not the kind you might see on television. The good news is you don't have to build the debate stage yourself. These cross-partisan conversations are already happening, and organizations like Living Room Conversations, the Braver Angels, or perhaps your local library are here to help. Let's set an example of humility for our politicians as we ask ourselves, is there a possibility that I might not be absolutely right? Is there a possibility that there is no absolute at all? Book recommendation, When You Are Brave by Pat Zelo Miller. Be true. In the world we live in, it's easy to be an echo. We subscribe to one media source or podcast and call it good. We follow our like-minded friends on social media and repost clever memes that repeat back to us just how correct we are. The phrase echo chamber has recently become popular, and it's been a real wake-up call for me. It's difficult to develop and grow your beliefs and voice as a citizen if all you are hearing is an echo. Do your homework outside your circle of influence. And don't be afraid to ask questions if you feel you don't have all the information. And even then, from time to time, take a quiet moment to revisit your gut, that gift of a place deep within each of us that helps us distinguish right from wrong and truth from fiction. Remind yourself why you believe what you believe, and then use your voice with authenticity, vulnerability, and conviction. Book recommendation, Julian is a Mermaid by Jessica Love. About a year ago, my partner and I moved into a new neighborhood, and soon thereafter befriended Hanoch, the owner of our local liquor store and one of the kindest men I've had the pleasure to meet. In conversation one day, Hanoch shared with me that he entered this country as a refugee and that he was now studying for his citizenship test, the last in a series of hurdles to officially become a citizen. So, like any self-respecting librarian, the next day I showed up with a citizenship study kit complete with flashcards. Months passed. In fact, the very months that have shaken our country to its core and left me personally feeling helpless. On a particularly rough day, I walked into Hanoch's store, bogged down by the weight of the current struggle that is being an informed citizen, and I was met with sheer joy. Hanoch's elated face exclaiming to me that he had passed his citizenship test. He said to me, "Maria, it is nice because now I am an American and I can have peace." I walked out of the store that day with a lump in my throat, having been reminded by my friend that being an American is first and foremost an undeniable privilege and a gift I dare not take for granted. In the words of Shel Silverstein, anything can happen, child, anything can be. I believe in the vast power of influence that each of us carries. Your behavior matters because it reverberates. I encourage you to remember that in a society permeated with hate and polarization, acts of kindness resound and build real community. In a landscape laced with fear and deafness, courage opens hearts and changes minds. And in a country in the midst of a moral crisis, truth-telling heals wounds and paves the way for hope. Be kind, be brave, be true. Thank you.